Well, welcome. Thank you for attending. 10% Better, the webinar, if you like. So I know some of you have my book. Thank you for that, for your interest in that. And it's for anyone who's watching the recording afterwards. It's available through my website or online as well. Let's start by just talking about why on earth would I write a book in this day and age when people have short attention spans. They only want to look at social media and flick through things. No one wants to read a book. But actually, the idea of it was to have a reference point for business people to come and go, read bits of it, come back to it, and give them some ideas that may help them in running their business, managing their businesses, and managing their teams. The content came from a lot of working with a lot of organisations over the last decade, and right through to all my career went from when I was a young graduate engineer through to working as a management consultant in more recent years, and looking at observing what organisations have done well and where they struggle, and where I saw that those same struggles in certain areas, in repeating itself in all sorts of organisations, the same sort of struggles, and then where I saw some companies were not struggling with it, what were they doing right? So that was the impetus behind the book. Now, who likes tennis? I love tennis. I think if you read my blogs, you can probably tell that with the occasional tennis reference as examples, I'm a bit of a fan. I love to play it, and a few of the tennis players are my heroes, if you like. One of them being Rafa. I love Rafa. He's passionate. He's emotional. He loves his game and lives for it. And but what he's well renowned for, as well as how many comps he's won, is the process he goes through before he takes a serve. Has anyone observed that? It's hilarious. I just think it's so funny. He has this ritual before he makes the serve where he adjusts his shorts, he touches his shoulder, he rubs his nose, he fixes his hair, and he does it every single time, and he does it in the same order every single time. And eventually he tosses the ball and hits a serve. And if it's a fault, he has to do it all again. Now, that works for him. That's his ritual. That's his getting into state. I'm not here to talk about sports psychology, far from it. But actually, as a process, I would say there's a lot of steps there that most of us don't bother doing. But it's part of the fun of watching when Rafa plays, is watching for those antics. Let's compare him with one of his peers, and someone who has won, equivalent championships, equivalent Grand Slams. I think this, you can probably tell this is a picture of Federer, and they're great mates. They're in my eyes, equivalent standing in terms of ability. So they were, for years, with Djokovic were the top three, and still really up there. When Federer serves, he walks up to the line, he bounces the ball 3, maybe 6 times, and then tosses it and serves, hits the ball. There's none of the fiddling around doing the whole ritual. His ritual, he has a ritual, but it's short and to the point. Bounce the ball, hit the ball. Interesting comparison. There's a lot with Rafa. There's a lot of fluffing around. There's the hair, the shoulders, the nose, the shorts. every time. Yet they both have fabulous serves. They both have winning games. Where in your organisation do you find people fluffing around, doing the shorts adjustment, the shoulders, the nose, the hair, which they think are necessary steps to get to deliver a result? Where are you in your organisation? Are people taking steps because that's the way they've always done it, so they have to always do it this way, but maybe aren't actually getting you up to the line and hitting the ball? I thought this was a fun way to look at it, because remember, we're not talking about psychology. What we're talking about is good processes. And sometimes what I find in organisations, there's a lot of steps and fluffing around that perhaps are perceived as necessary to get the ball over the net, but actually maybe not. What are some of the problems that I have been time and time again? And you might see them, you may list stuff, but we haven't got enough time to do that. You know, who's going to do this? That's a common one. Same old problems again. We thought we dealt with that. You know, didn't we fix this? That problem's come up again. Repeat problems or delays or issues within a business that keep coming up. And I've seen it in so many organisations. A very current one, people leaving. And that's always an issue, not just in this current environment where we have really low unemployment rate. It's hard to get the right skills for what you need, but also long-term. People come and people go. And if in your organisation people aren't sticking around, maybe there's reasons for that. So that's something we see. Customers being demanding. Now that's, customers always want what customers want. Interestingly, coming out of COVID with supply chain delays and whatever else, customers know that they're facing those issues, but they seem to be very demanding on their own suppliers, and not so understanding that they are dealing with the same issues. So that's an interesting conundrum at present. This is an interesting one. Staff are disengaged. We're seeing it now, and you can see it commonly where and when they're disengaged, they're not focused on, or they're not driven to serve the business purpose. They're sort of there just turning up to work and then going again. They're not really aligned with their team, their greater organisation, and so forth. Results obviously get impacted by that type of disengagement. This is an interesting one. Nothing really changes. I hear that sometimes. You know, we try this, we try that, but nothing really changes. Non-compliance is some of the problems that I see, whether that be non-compliance with a work health safety type of thing, or non-compliance with a customer requirement. It could fall in any area within even internal processes. That's some of the things that I end up seeing and hearing. Delays, errors, rework. We've got to do that again. Or why haven't we finished this? What are we waiting for? You know, these are typical problems that keep recurring. The end result is frustration. And sadly, I see a bit of that. And that then becomes a vicious cycle. Some of that disengagement occurs because of frustration. Frustration from, didn't we solve that? Why we're seeing this again? Repeat problems, repeat issues within an organisation. Yeah. So that can be quite, all of those are the sort of challenges that I see within the organisations I've worked in and with over many years, constantly. And some organisations seem to address these better than others. And so that's where I was trying to capture, well, what are they doing differently? And I think the answer lies in understanding the problem, understanding why these things are happening. Now, probably what we need to say is, well, if these are the sort of issues that you're seeing in your organisation, what's actually missing? Why is it happening? What could we do differently to stop having all these, the frustration, the staff retention issues, the disengagement, the recurring problems and frustration, customers not happy with what you're delivering and so forth? I feel, and what I've observed is there's sort of three areas that are missing, and one of three or more than one of three areas that can contribute to these types of issues. And they are either planning or people or process. So what do I mean by that? Planning is either absent or it's weak. So there's a lack of clear plans that are followed and checked and communicated and reviewed and within the organisation. So that can be a weakness. The people within the organisation may not have the capabilities that is, to deliver what's expected of them. It's all well and good to say, well, this problem keeps coming up, can't you fix it? Maybe they are not skilled in actually understanding the problem to resolve it. Maybe they're not skilled in, they've been put in a management position, but they've never been taught how to manage other people. They have no leadership skills. Maybe, so some of that, it's not the individual's issue, but it's around what is your capability set of the people you have, and have you been developing that? Because if you've been in business for a long time, the business environment has changed a lot in that time, so your people need to be changing with it as well. So you need to be developing. If people haven't been developing during that time, then there's potentially a gap. And then the third area is process. If processes aren't fine-tuned and refined and constantly refined, maybe there's a lot of wasted time fixing hair and touching shoulders and wiping noses and adjusting shorts before, because that's the way we've always done it. When actually people could be stepping up to the line and bouncing the ball 3 times and hitting it over. So processes, and I've been working with an organisation last year where exactly that, some of their processes it had been around for a long time and they weren't delivering. There was a lot of manual follow-up and manipulation of information, because they just hadn't really revised the way they did that. So process is another key area that I find is missing, and so that's why and that will help organisations to just move forward through some of those issues and problems that seem to recur. So let's get into, so that's why that was what I saw as the problem, and that's why I went, well, let's find a solution, and hence in the book I created this wheel. Now we could call it, in the book I call it the organisational excellence wheel, but excellence is a misconstrued concept. You might want to say, I'm thinking of renaming it as a business resilience wheel, because what it's about is making companies resilient, giving them business health, organizational health, if you like, a healthy organization which has great processes embedded, then can strive towards excellence. But really, what you're doing is you're being resilient throughout time, creating an organisation that can be sustainable, that can be healthy, and respond to changes over time. Three core problems need three core solutions, and so I have called these Inspire, Empower, and Enhance in the book. So Inspire is about being clear on reason, having your reason for why you're in business and what you do, having clear direction that we're going in this, the business is aiming for this, and everyone knows that. Then empowering your people, and the way we do that is two ways: making sure we've got good systems that people can use and that don't slow things down, and by increasing their individual and collective capabilities through training, through mentoring, through all sorts of opportunities. And then enhancing. And this is commonly weak in organisations, actually seeking feedback. We give it a lot of lip service, but it's not often formally done or even informally done. Feedback is a tough one, but being open to feedback and actually seeking it, and then using that to actually having a growth mindset within an organisation where you grow the business. And that growth may not necessarily mean a growth in revenue, but it may be a growth in how you respond, how you deliver what you do, how you modernise what you do as the world modernises around you, how you grow as a business in all sorts of ways. And, ideally grow profitability as well. But it's not always just about that financial growth, is what I'm saying there. This then feeds back into it's a continual improvement loop, revisiting your inspiration, revisiting your empowerment, and then continually enhancing that. So let's have a closer look at some of this. Let's look at Inspire, which is all about reason and direction. I thought I'd tell you a story to illustrate this. So when, maybe 10 years ago now, I was in a volunteer role, heading a committee that was responsible for organising a band program at a primary school, small to medium-sized primary school, I suppose. And in my tenure, we managed to really grow the program. So we had a small, when I first got involved, there was sort of one to two bands. By the time my kids went through and I'd been involved in that committee, we'd almost doubled the number of kids involved, had a third band, and we had some fabulous results. The school bands were winning, being awarded with silver and gold type awards at the band competitions, and for doing really well. But we had an issue with one of the bands, one of the conductors, who was very strict with the kids. And, these kids were turning up early before school. They were a bit tired. Potentially the conductor was too. And she was really strict with the kids and you know what kids are like with musical instruments. Some of them love it and practice, and some of them turn up every week and don't practice in between. Some of them know their part and some of them don't. and that conductor upset one of the kids. That kid was in tears, and it came back to me to talk to the conductor about, behaviour and so forth. And there were some repeat issues over a period of time. Now, as a committee, what we struggled with was what we wanted to achieve. We weren't clear with what we wanted to achieve as a band program. Some of us were very much about, we want kids to love music, enjoy music. Some of us wanted our kids to learn skills in playing an instrument. Some of us wanted the whole band to win awards, or at least loved it when we did. You know, all the parents loved it when the bands were able to play well. So, but we never actually, and this is one of my regrets, we never really clarified our values as a band program, and hence our purpose. Which one of those was the main purpose? And so it was really hard when I had to go and talk to that conductor about the issues we were having. I couldn't clarify what I wanted her to focus on and what I needed her to do. And so that was a great big leadership learning exercise for me. And if I had my time again, I would do it much more structured and much more focused on getting clarity for the program, so that I had clarity in the decision making I had to do and the talking that I had to do. So when you're talking about inspiring, inspire is a great word, but as leaders in an organisation, we should be inspired about what we're doing. And one of our roles is to inspire others. It's easier to do that if you have a shared reason and you know that reason. And that comes to having clear values, having a purpose, a vision, and so forth. Then there's other elements to that, which is more the strategic planning side of things, and that is having a clarity of direction. So that's at the top of the triangle there, clarity of direction that is shared across the organisation, so that you've got your long-term sort of vision stuff, and then you've got your medium-term strategic plans, and then your teams actually would be, doing 90-day actions or 1-year planning type things, and they're all clear because they relate, and that clarity is essential. And the third element of that is the individual's opportunity to actually contribute to that process and be involved. If you've got your triangle out, you may want to draw on it just to make it a bit easier to understand how that works. On the bottom of that triangle, write the word vision, 5 to 10 years. On the left-hand side, if you write the word strategy, 1 to 3 years. And on the other side, write the word plan or action plan, and that 90 days to 1 year. And that might help cement that. Then we come to the next element about empowering. How do we empower our people? And I think it was James Clear who said that our people are limited by the systems we give them. So if you've got a system that, like perhaps you've got software that is really old and it continually needs to be updated or worked around. If you're doing workarounds, then your systems are a problem. If you've got hardware, equipment that also is slow and not operating at its optimum, that's also holding your people back. So that's one element. And the other element is your people's capabilities themselves. So your systems can hold your people back, and then their actual capability, what can they do, is also potentially holding them back. And you want to continually be increasing that capability. So last night in Newcastle, the Matildas played against Jamaica, and they won 3-0. Now this photo isn't from there, but it is a header which became a goal. And what's her name? Sam Kerr was doing that header. Now she doesn't just know how to do headers. She wasn't born knowing how to do headers. She actually had to be trained. Now, if you read my blogs, you'll know that I also love soccer, and I probably write about soccer more than I write about tennis, because I also play soccer. Now, I doubt you get a photo of me with both feet 2 meters in the air and my head headering a ball into the goals, because I don't generally, I have never done that quite like that. I don't have that capability. When I first started playing soccer, I wasn't much good, but I went along to training every Wednesday night for that first winter, and we did drills. We learnt how to dribble around poles and then other players. We learnt how to kick a ball into the net. We did skills training. We needed to build our capability. Now, over the years, as I moved into other teams, I had to learn more skills. I had to adapt. I now play, instead of 11 aside, I play 6 aside, much smaller field. I had to learn new capabilities. You don't kick the ball so hard because it just goes out of the field. You've got to keep it controlled, keep it down. Different capabilities. As the environment changes, we're constantly learning more skills. And that's what we need to make sure all our people are doing so they can work to their optimum. We need to make sure they've got the capabilities that we need within the organisation, and not just assume they can do it. Then there's the last element, which is enhance. And what we do is to enhance, we really need to look at what we're doing and look close and hard at it, and be prepared to tweak it, to adjust, to do it differently, to grow. So we need to be able to seek feedback, and we should be seeking feedback. Many organisations are really not seeking feedback, or they're doing it in a way. They may have meetings with their customers, but maybe they're not getting feedback from within the organisation. Maybe they're only looking externally, or maybe they're not even, I don't know. Their feedback needs to come from all directions. They have a thing called a 360-degree tool, a feedback tool. That's wasn't created because it's not needed. It's created for a reason. So there's all sorts of ways to get feedback, but feedback should be sought. The most successful organisations embrace feedback and seek it internally and externally. And hands up, I took a while before I really wanted to hear what my clients had to say about the programs I offered, because I knew that they weren't perfect, but I wanted to hear praise. I wanted to hear how well it was going. But actually, when I started asking for, well, what could I do better? That's when I was really able to grow and offer something better. And having that growth mindset is all about having agility, being able to adapt and change as the environment around you changes, as customer needs change, as the the economic or business environment changes as well. So a growth mindset gives a company agility. I have a neighbour, and I talk about this in the book. I was chatting to that neighbour probably a couple of years ago now, and he said that he had a new boss. There was actually new management brought into across the organisation, and his new boss had actually set him a development objective to be quiet in meetings. How crushing is that? Can you imagine that? Now he was a contributor. He would speak out in meetings. He wouldn't hold back. He would question things. Now, that was seen as disruptive instead of contributing. And so what they did, it instantly shut off. He all of a sudden went from caring about the organisation and asking questions because he cared to switching off and seeking employment elsewhere. And it's really disappointing to hear that tactic. That's a really weak style of management when, yeah, sure, some people are disruptive and you want your optimum team together. But as managers and leaders, we need to be prepared to be challenged every now and then. We need to have that checks and balances, because sometimes it means, well, we do things better. Having carte blanche, nobody challenges, then it's my way or the highway type of approach. Well, if your way isn't the best way, over time, that's going to come and bite an organisation. So yeah, allow those line challenges, allow those questions, and in fact seek them and make it a positive, reframe it as a positive opportunity to challenge and justify the thinking in the organisation. That would be my suggestion. So that's the wheel, that's the cycle, if you like. The process is from inspire, be inspired and be inspiring. Empower your team in capability and by giving them good systems so they can work to their best, and then enhance it, continually enhance it, review what you're doing, how well are you doing, what could we do better, and that in itself is a process. How can we do this? How can we do this? So that's all well and good to say all that. How can we do it? So some of the things I've seen and helped organisations do, and you can do this in your organisation as well. Revisit your values and vision. Are they clear? Do people know what they are? Have some executive strategy sessions. Actually do some strategic planning with the exec team, and then maybe some risk workshops. Understand, well, what are the showstoppers? What do we need to be thinking of? If this is our strategic plan, how are we going to get there? Team quarterly action planning, 90 days, 1 year plans, that sort of thing. Responding to what you find in those risk workshops. Training and development plans. So many organisations have a training development plan 1 year and then forget about it for the next 5. Well, actually, you need to be thinking about your people's capability and professional development in an ongoing sense. Leadership, problem-solving skills, these can be learnt. They're not inherent, they can be taught. And so we should be looking at developing those in your people. Review your systems. Have a good look. Is this system serving us? Is it really delivering what we need? Introduce feedback programs. there's all sorts of ways. There's one-on-ones, there's documented, formal processes, informal processes, but making it comfortable in the organisation. And then conscious improvement programs, where you actually take a process and go, where in this process could we remove those steps of fixing the hair, touching the shoulders, wiping the nose and adjusting the shorts, and cut it back to just bouncing the ball 3 times and hitting it over the net? Where in our processes are we doing unnecessary stuff? Where in our processes are we missing it? So that would be the final step that I could suggest. There's plenty of things you can do. Thank you for attending and listening, and for those who are watching the recording afterwards. If you would like to discuss this further, please give me a call or jump on my website, laurenjones.com.au, or send me an email, lauren@laurenjones.com.au. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm available. It's been great to talk through the book. If you'd like one, you can buy it from my website. And I really hope that this has given you some ideas of where you can help your organisation break out of those repeat frustrations that we talked about at the beginning of the session.